This says find the x-intercepts by factoring. Okay, so I'm looking for the x-intercepts, and the way that I do that is I plug in 0 for y. Right? That's how I'm going to find the x-intercepts, because x-intercepts are on the x-axis. So instead of x squared, here, and I'm going to start on this side so I have more space. Instead of x squared plus 2x minus 15 equaling y, I'm going to say, well, what if y is 0, and then it equals 0. Now, it tells me to solve by factoring, so I'm going to set these up. I notice that this is a 1 here, so this is going to be x and x. And I notice this is negative 15, so my two numbers need to multiply to negative 15 and add to 2. Multiply to negative 15 and add to 2. If they're going to multiply to a negative, I know I need to have one negative and one positive. And multiplying to 15, my choices are 1 times 15 and 3 times 5. Since I need my numbers to subtract to 2, since one's going to be positive and one's going to be negative, I'm going to use 3 and 5. And because I want them to add to positive 2, I'm going to make my larger number positive and my smaller number negative. So now I know that x minus 3 times x plus 5 equals 0. And here's the thing. If a number times a number equals 0, the only way that that's possible is if one of the numbers is 0. So either x minus 3 is 0 or x plus 5 is 0. One of those must be true. So when I solve, I get that x equals 3 or x equals negative 5. Okay? I like to put the negative on the left just because it's going to be on the left of my graph, so it just helps me kind of stay organized here. And I'm going to go ahead and graph those 2 points. So here's negative 5, 0, and 3, 0. Moving on, the y-intercept. Now remember, to find the x-intercepts, I plugged in 0 for y, because look, those points are on the x-axis and their y value is 0. For the y-intercept, the x value is going to be 0. So I'm going to plug in 0 for x. Zero squared is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. So this is just 0 minus 15, which is negative 15. And that point is right here on the graph at 0, negative 15. For the axis of symmetry, I need the b value and the a value. So I'm going to come up here. Remember that this is ax squared plus bx plus c, right? That's standard form of a quadratic equation. So my a here is this invisible 1, and my b is positive 2. Okay, so my a is 1 and my b is 2. So let's use this formula. This is negative b or opposite of b. In this case, b is positive, so this opposite of b is going to be negative. Let's say b was negative, well, then the opposite of b would be positive. And then this is over 2 times a is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. This becomes negative 2 divided by positive 2. Negative divided by positive is negative. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So my axis of symmetry is at x equals negative 1. And I'm going to sketch it on my graph. And I'm going to take this opportunity as I sketch it to pause and just check, does my graph look right? What it should look like is that this axis of symmetry should be right in the middle of the x-intercepts. And so it looks good. And what I know is that when I sketch my graph, the vertex is going to be on this axis of symmetry, because that vertex is right in the middle of the graph. It's right where the graph turns, and the axis of symmetry is dividing my graph in half. So I already know that the vertex is going to be on that line, so I already know that the x value of the vertex is going to be negative 1. So when I plug in negative 1 for x, that is going to help me find the y value of the vertex. Now let's be careful when we do this math. This is negative 1 squared. That's negative 1 times negative 1. That's positive 1. Negative times negative is positive. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then bring down minus 15. When you do this math, feel free to enter this in your calculator, but 1 minus 2 is negative 1, minus 15 is negative 16. So this is negative 1, negative 16. Goes right here, and then you can just sketch the graph, right? The bottom should be at the vertex, and it should come back up through that y-intercept. Oof. It's okay if it's not perfect, but it should look something like this. And there it is.